Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is Podcasting Podcast, our weekly live podcast where we talk about Star Wars and other science fiction and fantasy related things that we enjoy. And I was just telling you during our... For some reason, someone reported us for hate speech on Facebook, so we're not allowed to...
Which I haven't seen the stream in question, but I'm pretty sure is blatantly untrue.
Yeah, there's no part of it that is hate speech, and it's weird that because it's frustrating because like when something like that happens on Facebook, there is no recourse. Mm-hmm. There's no one to talk to about it because they don't have a staff like that.
Because they don't care.
Yeah, and so your only option is to be like, okay. So I don't know, but YouTube and Twitch is working just fine, which is where we are broadcasting
right this
today.
Moment.
Yeah. And today we're talking. So also the other thing is, we were talking earlier. I think it was like during Dungeons and Dragons, right? And I was like, unless there's a lot of news next week, our show will probably be shorter because like the only thing really we have is the Bad Batch finale. And I'm not doing a Star Wars story time because I've been doing the Game of Thrones thing. Mm-hmm. And
surprise!
Yeah, and then like Bad Batch came out today and it was an hour long, like a 50 minutes long. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So if we have time at the end, we'll do some other stuff we haven't done in a while. Otherwise, I'm not. We'll probably.
But there's an iota of news.
Yeah. Yes, we're going to talk about some Star Wars updates. Unlike Skeleton Crew, Star Wars Outlaws. Mm-hmm. And of course,
Skeleton Crew is a thing that's happening. You might have forgotten about it with all the hullabaloo over Acolyte, but
yeah,
Jude Law is about to be in the Star Wars universe.
Yep. And that'd be cool. I like Jude Law a lot. Yeah. And then, of course, the Bad Batch series finale happened today, so we are going to talk about that and discuss it. Mm-hmm. If you're joining us for the official release of the podcast, which is either on Saturday or Sunday, I cannot remember.
It's whenever you put it up.
This week it was Sunday. This last week it was Sunday. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be on Saturdays.
You know what? You're the driver. You can put it up whenever you want.
It'll be one of those days. You can go check it out on our YouTube channel, but time codes will be in the description of that video so you can jump around. And thank you to Star Wars, to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. And while we have you, if you could, give us a like and subscribe, pretty please. Look at my sad face. And join us on Discord too.
Yeah.
And then after this, no Battlefront. We will be doing the next installment of our buzzed recap. Game of Thrones.
We'll be sipping on adult beverages while Daniel tells me the story of Game of Thrones.
The whole story of Game of Thrones. And this...
Like last time we got through season 1.
Okay.
Which I feel like was making pretty decent time.
Okay. Call me overly ambitious.
Okay.
I have notes for season 2 and 3.
Okay. I don't know that we'll get that far. I'm going to say season 2.5.
Well, we'll see. Well, if we start season 2, we're doing the whole thing because I need to cut them into videos.
Okay.
But I think I come up with a better system where I used some colored sticky notes next to topics that I need to get into.
Okay.
And then I had to think about, okay, this happens.
But does it matter?
Yeah, is it really that important? Can I get away with just mentioning that it happened and then like moving on? So I'm going to try to do a better job of that. The key there is that you and I are going to get a little sauced and talk about Game of Thrones. That'll be right after this at 7. And then Sunday at 7 will be our weekly episode of Dungeons and Dragons,
which ended on a pretty big cliffhanger last time.
Yeah.
I mean, as in 2 people might have had to re-roll characters cliffhanger.
Yeah, I think you left the voice channel, but I threatened Richard and told him that if my character dies, I'm going to send him a biological weapon via his mail. Because we all tried to warn him.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been following along, you won't get this. But one of our friends made a very hasty action that we all warned him against.
Yeah.
And
we're going to find out if actions have consequences.
So you can join us for that Sunday at 7. It'll be a blast. let's get into the news. That way we can get to the Bad Batch.
Okay. Where do we want to start on the news?
So the last week, because you've got a job that you have to deal with on Wednesday. So the last several weeks, I've just been doing notes for all of the news that we like. If you don't have time to look at it,
funny thing, my job involves an awful lot of sitting around and dicking around on my phone. So I actually read all these articles. I just don't always have time to like make notes about them.
Oh, okay. Well, Skeleton Crew had a little thing in the news today.
Yeah.
Carrie Condon was talking about it. And
so she was actually promoting something else in Variety,
which is what you do.
You know, good for her.
Yeah.
But like, as happens to everyone who is even peripherally involved with Star Wars, when they do any sort of media appearance, someone asked her about Star Wars.
Yeah. Which always happens.
Yep.
And she was talking about the tone a little bit, said it's playful and lovely, which makes sense because if I remember correctly, it's
like half the cast is children.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like a Stranger Things in space kind of a thing.
Or the Goonies I've heard thrown around.
Right. So I like that's really cool. She has a significant role in this as well, but there isn't a ton to report here other than she's like, oh, it's a lot of fun. And it kind of put it back on everyone's radar because we've been really focused on Star Wars Acolyte, which is coming out in just a few weeks, like a couple
just a
weeks.
month.
Yeah. And
like we'll get into that in a minute, but it's a month.
Yeah, it's getting close, and in less than a week is
Tales of the Empire.
Yeah, Tales of the Empire,
which is a whole other thing.
Yeah. So like we've been distracted by Star Wars Outlaws and all this other shit, you know. So it's kind of cool to know that, you know, this kind of thing is going on. Jude Law is playing like I think like a mysterious Jedi who
might not be a Jedi.
Yeah,
we don't know,
or may or may not have survived Order 66.
Yeah,
it's too early to tell.
We know so little about this.
Yeah,
show.
and I think we don't have a release date for this yet, right? Later this year, I think.
It's this year.
Yeah,
that's all we know.
Right. All right. What are you about to talk about?
Do you want me to go through the big list, or should I talk?
I took the big list off.
Oh, okay.
Because it wasn't what I thought it was.
Okay.
And we don't have time for a big list on this episode.
So let's talk about Rosario Dawson.
Okay.
So, you know, she plays Ahsoka in Ahsoka. We know that there's a season 2 coming for Ahsoka, but we don't know much of anything else. And apparently we have that in common with Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
Like she was talking with
Table Read podcast.
Yes, on a podcast. She was asked, do you know anything about Ahsoka season 2? She said, absolutely not.
She's like, I hear they're making another one.
Yeah. She's like, I'm super excited to do it, but I have not heard anything.
Yeah. So there's no scripts. Apparently, like there's nothing.
I mean, I'm sure Dave Filoni has ideas of where he wants it to go and how it's going to set up his eventual movie and all that shit.
I'm not sure that they even planned to do a second season of this.
Probably not.
I think they're like, oh, people liked this. Like they really like the Anakin stuff. So, you know, we might as well try to capitalize on that. So real quick. Lost in the Net says, I'm not sure we're safe either, guys. Well, Brian has Dodge. He might be screwed. I think that might be April in our chat.
Yeah.
Talking about. I need to make this. I wish this could get bigger so I could read it easily. So yeah.
You want to talk about Star Wars Outlaws?
Yeah. There wasn't much about this. There were some new screenshots, and we learned a little bit more about one of the one of the factions.
Apparently we're going to Kijimi.
Yeah. Which was in the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
It's the desert planet with the big festival and shit.
So it's the Ashiga clan, I guess.
Mm-hmm. We go there. We're gonna meet a crime syndicate and do outlaw thing.
Either piss them off or be friends with them, probably. Mm-hmm. And they're made up of the insectoid species Melito.
Sure, that sounds right.
I'm gonna look this up real quick because when I saw that, I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
And they talk a little bit about how, like, whenever they want to do something in Star Wars, they have to go back and forth with the Lucas story group, and they say, well, we want to do X, and they say, well, you can't do X, but you can do Y, and they're like, well, Y doesn't sound quite as cool, but I guess we'll do that that way, and all that shit. And then there's the typical press thing. Oh, we're so proud and honored to be playing in this universe and making things Star Wars canon and all that bullshit. There's a couple pretty screenshots, I guess. But
there's nothing much here. This is why I was really worried about not having enough stuff, because like there wasn't a lot of news this week. Though the one thing that actually got a lot of attention, I think, was just yesterday. Star Wars Hunters had its release date trailer.
Oh, I did not see this.
Which, so like you might remember, they announced this game, I think, before the first season of Bad Batch even premiered.
Yeah, it was a long time
It was a
ago.
while ago that they announced it, and now they're like, "Oh, it's coming on June 4th."
Oh shit, we actually have to put this out.
It's going to be a mobile game. It's going to be free to play, and which is a massive red flag for me, because it means that by design, it will be a microtransaction infested mess, just like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and it'll be pay to win bullshit.
Likely.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if they have it on PC. I guess I'll check it out, but I can't imagine that they will. I have no interest in mobile games whatsoever, mostly for the reason that I just mentioned. That mobile games are extraordinarily predatory, specifically toward children, and it makes me icky. Like, it just makes me feel icky about it and everything. But it's one of the reasons I checked out Galaxy of Heroes, and it was like, oh, if you want to do anything fun on this game, you either pay for the stuff to do it, or you grind for hundreds of hours to get the in-game currency to do it. And I don't have patience for shit like that. If it was like some amazing game, like some really fun, amazing game with amazing graphics, and like it was on my Xbox or something, like maybe we'd be having a different conversation, but it's not. It's a shitty little mobile game that is designed to be viewed on a tiny little screen, and I don't care about it.
So fuck them.
Yeah, and if it's good for them. And if you like mobile games, by the way, I'm not trying to shit in your like cornflakes or anything. Like, if that's your thing, if you love mobile games, fucking do it. And if you're a kid, first of all, don't watch this show.
No,
this show's not for children.
No, seriously, no.
But also, don't ever take your parents' credit card and buy shit for mobile games. And we know this happens because mobile games are designed to do that.
And also, if you're a kid, don't bully your friends just because they don't have some item on
skins.
Fortnite.
Yeah, right.
That's really stupid.
Right.
Don't do that.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
Speaking of kids, you want to talk about a kids TV show?
Yeah, I think we're gonna get into this, and then so this was, first of all.
So are we starting spoiler free?
Yeah, let's do spoilers free. So this is Bad Batch season 3 episode 15. The cavalry has arrived. The series finale.
Yes.
A few days ago, we both said, I think last week, like, how do they even wrap this up in a 20-minute or 25-minute?
And the answer is they don't. They make it double length.
Yeah. And even then we're like, I don't think you can. Just yesterday in the mod chat for our Facebook group, one of the mods had a thing about, oh, they might have accidentally leaked that the episode is nearly an hour long on some other Twitter account or something.
I wish they would have just publicly announced that. Like, it would have made my personal life a lot easier to know that it was extra long.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily prepared for it, because like I saw that and I was like, oh, well, I mean, we'll see, because there's always some rumor about the finale is going to be super long, and it never ever pans out.
Except this time.
Yeah, it literally a full last 50-minute episode. And this is a good spoiler free thing. First of all, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was great.
It was really good.
I am confused by the structuring of the episodes, because like I get releasing the first 2 episodes like a 2-episode premiere. I totally get. I also totally get having a 50-minute episode.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they did one way and one the other way, because this could have been 2 episodes.
Yes, there's a very clear point around the midway where they could have broken it up into 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it was a thing with Tales of the Empire, that they were trying to avoid some kind of collision with that or something, and they just like spliced them together and put them in one episode.
It could be that. It could be them trying to mess around with streaming metrics to play with views and game the system.
Joke's on them, because I didn't watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, that aside, and that's not even like a gripe. That's not
it's just we don't know why they did it.
Yeah, I'm really confused by it. That being said, I thought it was not only a great conclusion for the season, but a really, really great conclusion for the series with a beautifully sweet cherry on top moment at the end. And there are a couple of things I guess I wish I would have liked to see. And we'll talk about that, I guess, when we get to the end. But the fact that I didn't get those things didn't come close to ruining it for me.
Yeah.
And so I was fine. Like, it was like, whatever, that's fine.
I will go one further than you. I will say this did a really good job for me of wrapping up the entire Clone Wars era.
Oh, okay.
Sort of. Just like the sort of moral and feeling that the show eventually arrives at the end of the episode just seems like a nice sort of tying a bow on the entirety of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, they did a good job on this one. This was really good. And there were episodes in this season where I was like, I didn't hate it, but
it's fine.
Yeah, like this was, like I was kind of disappointed by the Asajj Ventress episode.
Okay, fair.
And that's fine. But this episode, I was like, goddamn, like nicely done.
I've been saying it all along. I need to echo myself one more time on these two things. D. Bradley Baker is one of the best voice actors in the entire business.
Yes.
He makes every single clone sound like a different character, despite the fact that they're all his voice and they're all supposed to sound like they could have been the same genetic material. Number
Did you know he was the voice for Appa in the
yes, I looked up his IMDb page one day and like, oh, holy shit. The other thing, the music in this episode was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin Kiner has done a lot of really great stuff for like Rebels and
we've been saying this the entire run of the show, but like he's been doing this stuff for as long as the 3D Clone Wars has been going. He's been doing the music for it, and he's the way he sort of uses music, especially in this season, the way Tantus always has this very electronic themes, and the way he uses like the more heroic brassy and string things,
like the end of the episode, that big finale and everything.
Something about how he composed for this episode specifically just really worked well. I think
I liked it a lot. I thought it was great, and what I appreciated about him is that there is a John Williams-ness to his stuff, but it doesn't necessarily feel like he's just trying to do John Williams. So that's I appreciate that.
I was thinking about this while going through that big list that you took off the news rundown. Presumably, whoever's doing the music for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to be either Ludwig Göransson or whoever they got to replace him for season 3 of Mando.
Yeah, who did season 3?
I don't remember, but we know Dave Filoni is planning a movie after that, and I hope they get
Joseph Shirley.
Okay,
who I don't know.
Yeah. I hope they get Kevin, what's his name?
Connor,
Connor, yeah. I hope they get him to do the Dave Filoni movie, because he also did Ahsoka, and that was really good when he had the budget for actual musicians.
Yeah, that's the one thing where the music kind of suffers a little bit, is that like they use sampled instruments instead of real musicians and everything. Just
because they don't have the budget for it, because it's a kids animated show.
And it's like, honestly, most of the time it sounds fine. Yeah, like it's not that big of a deal. But you can always tell the difference between that and like when they actually sit like a whole orchestra down, and it's like it sounds a lot different. All right,
it sounds a lot more expensive is the thing.
Yes, we're gonna spoil this entire episode and the entire series.
It is the end of the entire show. Yeah. Like, if you haven't seen this, we're not blaming you. It's extra long this time, but you don't want to experience it for the first time like this with us poking fun at it and taking the piss out of it.
Right.
So go watch the finale of Bad Batch. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah, it's worth your time. Yeah. All right. So you know that like in the last episode, they kind of launched their rescue attempt to get Omega. They're on the planet close to Mount Tantus, but they crashed their ship.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Well, they got shot down and then jumped out.
Right. So Hunter, Crosshair, and Wrecker are like hiding in the forest or on Mount Tantus. And like they're trying to avoid the search patrols and shit. And Wrecker's injured
Yes, he got his ribs broken by that jungle monster.
Because he saw a monster and he was like,
I'm going to wrestle
you.
it.
Yeah. And jumped right on it and then thought he was going to have a fight. And it didn't go so well because it was a really big monster.
Yes.
Right.
Remember I think it was season 1 where he wrestled a baby Rancor?
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
He was trying to do that and it didn't work out.
It was so much bigger. Yeah. So Crosshair was like, did you really have to try and fight every creature we encounter that's bigger than you? And he does that Hulk voice from Ragnarok. He's like, big monster. They're just like, oh God, okay. So they patch him up. They give him like a injection.
Yeah.
He's like, here's some heroin.
Yeah.
And Hunter's like, Tantus is only 5 clicks away, so let's go. At the base, Hemlock orders the vault lockdown until the security issue has ended.
Sure,
right?
Makes sense.
So he's also informed that they have one of the insurgent attackers in custody, and what do you know? It's Vice Admiral Midlife Crisis Beard. And
you really don't like his facial hair.
I don't like him. I don't like his face. That's like the primary problem.
Okay.
And then he put a stupid ass beard on it, and I'm like, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy in particular. So they have Rampart in custody, and Hemlock's like, damn, Rampart, like you're just hanging out with defective clones nowadays. Like that's pretty fucking low. And Rampart's like, the Emperor is going to be pissed when he finds out that your top secret base here isn't so top secret anymore. And Hemlock, who spends like the entire episode trying to be unaffected by everything going on.
Everything that's happening.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you idiot. I knew the Bad Batch would come for Omega. And he like explains that Omega and his research is so important to the Emperor that he's indispensable. Right. So they throw Rampart in prison, and Rampart's prison neighbor is Nala Se, which is a little awkward because Rampart
just a scotch
destroyed all of Camino and killed all of her people.
Yeah.
So like they put him in the cell, and Nala Se is like, I'm gonna get my shank.
Well, like Nala Se, like her face doesn't show very much expression.
She's very stoic, yeah.
But like she's kind of pissed.
Yeah, she's like, I might just shank that guy. Okay, so Dr. Carr and Echo, because you might remember Carr,
they teamed up. Yeah.
So they're still hanging out in the lab, right? And Echo is like, okay, where are the records on this like secret child prison you were telling me about? And she's like, do you really think we just leave records of a child prison where anyone can find them? Like they're secret, you dumbass.
Well,
like,
you're the bad guys, so yeah, I kind of do believe you would.
She's like, I can help you get in.
Like the bad guys are so fucking proud of their child prison.
Yep. So Dr. Carr's like, I can get you in, don't worry. And he's like, okay, but why are you helping me? He's like, Dr. Carr is like, well, it's like this. I woke up this morning, realized we have a fucking child prison. So it made me start to think like, maybe we're not the good guys.
Maybe we're the baddies.
And Echo's like that. That's fair. That tracks.
That tracks.
So in the child prison, Omega shares her plan with the kids. And the Red Girl, I don't know any other names.
That's fine. They're a red kid, they're blue kid, and they're green kid.
Yeah, it's like a Dr. Seuss thing. So Red Girl's like, that sounds really complicated and scary. And I'm like 9 years old. And Omega's like, it's okay. I've been trained for this. And the Red Girl's like, okay, but like we haven't. So what the fuck? And Omega's like, that semantics. Like everything will work out. Get into position. So they all go to their spots, right? And there's that one observer that really hates kids, who's like, she's up in the observation thing, and she looks away. And so the kids distract the nanny droid that like floats around,
the blood taking droid,
and like Omega like gets up behind it, like slits its throat, and is like shh, and drags it into one of the cells and starts like rummaging around in its guts, right? So
she starts doing tech shit too.
So their scientist lady noticed some of the kids aren't at their tables, and she's just like, fucking kids. So she walks in and she interrogates Blue Girl about where everyone is. And Blue Girl's like, listen, I am too busy taking care of a literal infant that you guys just left in here. I'm 7 years old. Now I'm a single mom. I don't have time for questions like this. Like I have to go to work and my babysitter's late. So if you could crawl right up out of my ass, that'd be great.
I like that part of their plan was to give Blue Girl this symbol, like this signal system where like she taps with the little chip when she looks away, and when she comes down, she knocks over the stack of poker chips. Yeah.
So the other kids show up just in the neck time with the nanny droid, and she's like, where the fuck were you guys? And they're like, we're just hanging out with the droid, like in the other room. And she's like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like that droid.
that droid exsanguinates you.
Yeah. He doesn't hang out with anybody.
Yeah.
And so she's like,
I don't even hang out with that droid.
Yeah. That droid sucks. So like she's suspicious, but before she can do anything about it, the droid sneaks up behind her and injects her, and she like falls over, presumably dead.
Yes.
Probably not, because it's a kid show. It's probably a sedative. So the kids start their plan, right?
Mhm.
And Omega pops the panel off in her room, and they start crawling through the hole and everything. The Bad Batch is making their way to the base.
Mm-hmm.
And Wrecker isn't doing great.
No.
And they're at a med patch. And like Wrecker, of course, is a 10-year-old and just insisting that he's fine.
Yeah.
Like, trying not to show any weakness and trying to be like, tough and everything. Echo and Dr. Carr get to the vault. And Echo's like, where do you get all these kids? And she's like, oh, we just hire bounty hunters really easy. And he's like, that's really fucked up. Like, how does Omega fit into this? And she's like, well, she's really vital to our work on Project Necromancer. And Echo's like, that sounds really ominous.
That's a very ominous name that you've given this project.
So the kids are climbing through that sample delivery, like pneumatic system, right? And one of the kids is worried, like, that the baby will start crying, and Omega's like, don't worry, like, things are about to get so much more fucking loud than
she's
it is
like,
right now.
You fucking idiot! You have put Chekhov's baby on the wall, and now that kid is going to cry at exactly the wrong time.
Right. So they get to their destination. Omega pops the panel off. She crawls out, and it is the big room where they keep the Zillo Beast. And
I knew where this was going as soon as she got there, and I just got this huge grin on my face.
I knew she was getting there last week. I was like, they're going to make this a part of it somehow. Mm-hmm. So Omega sneaks in, and she's like about to like beep boop on the computer, and then the baby just starts wailing.
Chekhov's baby.
Yeah. And I like how the stormtroopers and the scientists, like, they're like, is that a fucking baby?
The fuck is
like,
that?
what is, like, out of all the sounds, I thought I would, in a Zillo Beast pen.
Yeah.
I did not expect a crying baby. It's just the weirdest fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, Bill, why don't you go up and check that out? And he's like, okay. So Omega starts like playing on the computer, and she pulls a lever, and then the containment field for the Zillo Beast drops in. It's just like a moment from, it's like that moment from Jurassic Park when all the fences go off, and the T-Rex is like, oh, hey, what's up?
Oh hey, yeah. I think I'm going to eat you now.
Yeah. So the stormtroopers find the kids behind the panel. Mm-hmm. And
like, what the fuck are you doing in here?
One of them's like, it's just kids. What do we do? And
are you supposed to be down in child prison?
Yeah. And they're like, he's like, what do I do with it? And he's like, I don't know, fucking shoot him or
arrest him.
Yeah. Do we have any more of those kid-sized handcuffs lying around? Like, that'll probably do the thing. So meanwhile, the Zillo Beast has figured out that it is now free, at least of its immediate area, and is very, very mad.
Yes.
And so like one of them is like, oh my God, the Zillo Beast is loose. Start the containment protocols. And let's just say that like they need better containment protocols, because like they try to shoot this dish laser thing at it, and he's like, fucking stop doing that.
He's like, that stings. Smack.
And he just starts eating stormtroopers and like just ripping everything up. And it's like, I think everyone.
It's great.
Yeah. Now, if you've not seen the Clone Wars episode where they torture this poor Zillo Beast, I presume it's the same one, because I don't think there are very many of them, period. This is a plot thread wrap up years in the making for Clone Wars fans. So seeing this Zillo Beast, presumably the same one, just freaking out, being like, fuck the Empire, is like, everyone was waiting for it. I'm glad it happened. So Hemlock finds out that Omega has escaped. And this is one of those moments where he's like, it's fine. It's fine. Everything,
I'm not going to let it bother me.
Everything's going according to plan. Yes. Everything is fine. And then the guy's like, oh, and the Zillo Beast is loose. And he's like, oh, fuck. Oh, no. So Hemlock finds Dr. Carr, who has Echo, who's just in a stormtrooper
just hanging out.
Yeah. And he's like, you need to find Omega or I'm going to fucking kill you. And after Hemlock leaves, Echo is like, Omega sets the Zillo Beast loose, right? And Dr. Carr is like, how do you know? And he's like, it's exactly what I'd do. Like, you divide the enemy force and you create a diversion. Like, I bet I know where she is right now. Let's go fucking get her.
Also, you just set a huge fucking monster on your enemies, and now you have fewer enemies to fight.
The Zillo Beast level is now in absolute ruins.
Yes.
There are bodies flying everywhere.
And somehow there are still more stormtroopers going in to shoot.
Right. Yeah. The reinforcements show up and then they're immediately like taken out and everything. So, a weird aside, a weird detail in this episode that apparently the sound of screaming stormtroopers and scientists put the baby asleep. It's like it was wailing so now the Zilla Beast is like ripping them in half and shit, and the baby is like just dead asleep, and they're like, "Oh, that's what we needed to do." I guess
that baby might be a psychopath.
Yeah, that makes sense. Look at that kid.
Yeah.
So the Zilla Beast looks up and sees that whole thing kind of goes up somewhere, and he's like, "You know what? I'm fucking out of here.
Fuck this place. I'm out of here.
See you later." So in the forest, the Bad Batch run into a search patrol, and Crosshair has a little shaky hand episode, and Wrecker is hurt, but he's trying to pretend like he's not. Crosshair realizes that like
this is not going to work.
Yeah, individually they're in bad shape, and operationally they're in a bad shape, right? And so Crosshair's like, okay, new plan. You guys find the communication center and see if you can call Rex. I'll go infiltrate the base. And Wrecker's like, come on. Wrecker's like, come on, we've been in worse scrapes than this. And like Crosshair wheels on him, right? And says, like, pull your head out of your asses. Clone Force 99 died with tech. Which every person who is in love with tech is like, oh. So he's like, we're not that squad anymore. It's like, we're fucked. So like, I've been inside the base. If we all go in, none of us are coming out. And Omega needs you guys. So I'm going to go in alone. It's what I deserve. Because Crosshair is still privately dealing with this crippling guilt.
Yeah.
For all the stuff that he's done.
That man needs therapy.
Yeah. And of course, will not ever get it because he's stubborn.
Yeah.
So Hunter is like, yeah. Okay, we have a quota on how many Plan 99s we can do in 1 year, and we're well over it. So calm the fuck down. Omega needs all of us.
We are having no heroic sacrifices today.
Yeah, I've had about enough of that shit in my life recently, so just cut that bullshit. On cue, the Zilla Beast crashes through the front gate of the...
Hey, guys!
Yeah. Hey, you guys!
I'm here!
So Crosshair is like, huh. So the real question here is, did Echo do this or did Omega? And Hunter and Wrecker both.
In unison.
Yep. Omega, yeah. So the Zilla Beast like looks around, sees the forest, and is like, this looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to fuck off into the sunset.
In there, let's go.
So the Zilla Beast fucks off into the sunset, and we don't see him again.
And he gets his happy ending.
Yeah. Good for, you know what? I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
So Omega and the kids sneak into the like obliterated the Zilla Beast bin. And they like, Omega's like, okay, so I'm pretty sure he just climbed up here. So it would be really smart for us just to go the same way, right? And Green Boy is afraid of heights. And Omega says, my brother Wrecker is about your age psychologically, but trapped in a giant hulking man's body, and he's afraid of heights. So like, don't worry about it. Like he's really tough, and you can find it in yourself to not, be a pussy.
Just fucking look up, not down.
Yeah. So, which by the way, I have my notes. Okay, that's not how phobias are supposed to be dealt with, but okay. So they start to climb and get out. The kid's fear of heights evaporates immediately. Never again examined or anything. So that poor clone commando, whose only job this entire episode is to deliver bad news to Hemlock. He gives Hemlock a sit rep, and he's like, okay.
The Zilla Beast blew everything up.
The Zilla Beast breached the front door. It's killed like half of our force here, by the way. Like we might be the only ones left alive. And it's now frolicking around in the forest. And Hemlock's like, go catch it. And he's like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah. And he's like, if we do that, then we'll leave our defenses weakened, and like Clone Force 99 will get it. And Hemlock's like, yes. And he's like, that
was not the answer I expected.
Can you acknowledge what I said? And he's like, just go catch the Zilla Beast. And he's like, okay, fuck it.
Fine.
So Hemlock takes an elevator to a secret room and does some beeps on the computer and prepares. It's not a secret room. It's like a training area for the clones, right? And prepares a new group of assassin clones, right? And we don't see any of their faces, but they got like real cool fucking helmets and shit. Yeah. And they all have like different weapons. Like one of them has like a whip, and one's got swords.
They kind of remind me of Snoke's Praetorian Guard. Just a little bit.
Oh, you know what? Now that you mention it, yeah. I totally see that. So I was distracted by the cool new helmets because they got like yellow piping and shit. And I was like, that looks pretty fucking cool. So Echo and Car figure out they need to find a shortcut to the transport hangar.
Yep.
Because that's probably where Omega's going to be.
Because she's a smart girl.
Yeah.
She knows to escape, you need to fly.
Right. So the Bad Batch arrives at the base and enters through the Zillo Beast hole. Mm-hmm. And everything is on fire. Like, and then they're met by like a squad of stormtroopers and those assassins. Mm-hmm. I think there are like 4 or 5 of them.
There are enough of them.
Yeah. So Wrecker's like, fuck it, we can take him. And Crosshair's like, Wrecker,
no,
you're barely conscious. And I haven't intentionally hit anything in like 2 seasons. Like, we all need to fall back. And so Crosshair fires a sticky bomb to cover their retreat. In fact, there's a really good moment where like one of the assassins has the shield. He's like trying to do a Captain America. Mm-hmm. And it's at some point Crosshair is like, you know what? If I just replace all my ammo with these bombs, like, it doesn't matter what I hit.
Yeah.
Everything around it will blow up.
You just need to be in the right general area.
Yeah. It really kind of helps with my like accuracy differential. Mm-hmm. And he shoots the guy's shield and he's like, and he has one of those moments where it's like, you missed me. And then he notices it's on his shield.
Like, shit. Ah!
Yeah. So their retreat doesn't work. And essentially they're all captured by assassins.
Knocked out.
And Crosshair gets his shooting hand cut off. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of fucked up.
It's pretty brutal. Yeah. Like, sword guy, like he's lying on his back. Sword guy like puts a foot on his chest and you should be more careful with your shooting hand.
Yep. Chops it off. Yeah. The kids are making good progress. Mm-hmm. And they've noticed that there was a bunch of blaster fire, which was the fight between the assassins and the Bad Batch. And they've now noticed that it has stopped. Mm-hmm. Echo and Dr. Carr walk through the hallway just in time to see unconscious Wrecker, Hunter, and Crosshair get wheeled right past them. And Echo's like, wait.
Well, shit.
Hold on a second. And I think I found my squad. Like, where are they taking them? And Carr's like, I don't fucking know, man. This is all so fucked up. This is it'll be sluiced. Like, whatever it is, it'll be heavily guarded. And Echo's like, I mean, heavily guarded by dumbasses. Like, these stormtroopers are idiots. It's not a big of a deal. But we need to find the kids first.
Yes. Priorities.
Yeah. So the kids are in the hangar and are close to an escape when they're discovered by stormtroopers.
Yep.
And just as like they're about to call it in, Echo shows up and saves the day and he stuns them. Right?
Shoots both the stormtroopers.
So Dr. Carr's like, okay, the shuttles and Bay 4 still work, so let's go. And they get to the shuttle, and Omega is like, okay, you guys get on the shuttle. I'm seeing her with Echo because these are my people.
Save the day.
Yeah, like I got to stay and complete the mission. And so Dr. Carr's like, that's fine. I'm not going to ask twice.
I don't shoot things. I do science.
Yep. I'm leaving here and I will not look back. But here's my magic iPad. It can unlock doors, and you know what? You've escaped with it before. So
Echo's like, cool. Take him to Wanda Sykes' Paradise Island.
Wanda Sykes Island. Mm-hmm. So in the training room, the Bad Batch are like in the same pods that the assassins were in, and they're like getting zapped by electricity.
Getting their brains zapped, and Hemlock's like, oh, now you're going to be my new clone assassin.
He does this whole evil monologue thing.
Hunter's like, fuck you. Also, you're going to die today.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be the last face you see. So
with me and this cool skull tattoo.
Yeah. So that guy that only delivers bad news walks in. He's like, Tarkin's on the phone. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, no. So Omega and Echo make it to the prison sector, mm-hmm. and they free and arm all the prisoner clones. And they figure out where the Bad Batch is being held, which is in the training room. And Echo has this really fucking cool call to action where he was like, look, they've shit all over us. Like, we fought their fucking war. They shit all over us. Let's go fucking kill them. And they're like, I
got one more fight left in me.
So Nala Se talks to Omega. They have a moment.
Mm-hmm. And Nala Se says in her incredibly slow voice.
I just want to wrap a rope around her words and just pull them the fuck out. Yeah. So Nala Se is like, look, girl, we need to fucking kill Hemlock.
We need to kill Hemlock. We need to blow up the databanks.
Yep. I think I thought it was interesting. She said to stop my science from staying in the Empire's hands. Mm-hmm. And she Omega gives Nala Se the magic iPad, and she's like, okay, well, you go fucking take care of that. On the phone call with Tarkin, Tarkin's like, Hemlock, your secret base that no one's supposed to know about. I just found out that your secret base that no one's supposed to know about is under siege. And I'm pretty sure it's on the news. Like, did you lose a Zillow beast?
Hemlock's like, maybe.
He's like, everything is fine. Everything is fine.
We're fine.
Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah. And Tarkin's like, the Emperor is going to be pissed. I'm on my way now. And so Hemlock's like, oh, okay.
This fucking guy.
Yeah, this fucking day. Just in general. So Nala Se makes her way to her old lab.
Very slowly and ponderously.
On the way, she sees like a dead soldier and like grabs his thermal detonator.
Like, yes.
And then like, I think grabs like a gun from another one, maybe.
No, Hemlock or Rampart.
Oh yeah, Rampart finds a pistol.
Rampart breaks out with everyone else and follows Nala Se, and he picks up a blaster.
So Nala Se gets to her old lab and fires up the computers, right? And she exposes a core that has like all the blood samples in it, I think. Or
data or whatever.
Yeah. And she pulls up Omega's file and she's like about to delete it. But like Rampart shows up with that pistol and is pointing it at her. And he's like, all right, fucking step aside. Tell me everything you know about this research. So Omega gets a visual on the room where the Bad Batch is being held. Because she's like the reconnaissance part.
Going through the vents.
Yeah. And she's like on the phone with Echo and shit. Echo and the troops break in and like they start a gunfight with the assassins, and
which does not go particularly well for them.
No, well, yeah, I mean, for one thing, they're probably terribly malnourished and tired. I would assume, and they probably all have that shaky hand thing now. Okay. In fact, it's a miracle they didn't shoot each other. Now that I'm thinking about it, so. Yeah, it doesn't go necessarily well. And Omega sneaks through the vents and she gets to a computer and releases Wrecker's restraints first, right? And then like she looks down and like there are clones getting cut down by the assassins, and Omega is caught by one of the assassins.
Like she looks over. It's a cool sequence because like she's beep booping. She looks over her shoulder. The clone assassin is watching the fight. She beep boops some more. The restraints come off. She looks over her shoulder. Oh God, he's here.
He's like standing right there. So, and Hemlock's there, right?
Yeah.
And Hemlock starts to wax poetic again. And he's like, a glaring weakness of the clones is their loyalty.
Blah, blah, blah,
You've proved my point. And Hemlock releases gas. It's like that same gas that he used in the second season, right? And he gasses the chamber and everyone starts like,
Omega's like,
knocks everyone out.
Guess what, Hemlock? We have a Hulk.
Oh, hold on. That's first of all, in my notes, you stole my thunder, but that happens. So Nala Se is still, it's like Rampart's holding a gun on her and she's still holding her bomb. And you can see she's thinking about it.
Well,
she's like, if I shove this.
Successfully yada through all of Project Necromancer, and Rampart's like, yes, interesting.
Yeah. And she's thinking, you can tell, she's like, if I stick this so far up his ass and it blows up, maybe it takes out everything.
Yeah.
So, like Rampart's trying to figure out Project Necromancer. And so his genius fucking plan is that he's going to learn everything about it and then hold it ransom from the Emperor.
I guess.
And it's like, motherfucker, have you met the Emperor? Like, he's just going to kill you.
He's just going to electrocute
you. You're going to call him and be like, hey, I got information and you need to pay me or give me my job back. And Palpatine's like, okay, meet me at the McDonald's. And they're going to meet there. And he's like,
it's not going to be Palpatine. It's going to be Vader.
Yeah. And Vader just fucking kills him, right? Yeah. So, he tells Nala Se this plan, and Nala Se says, my research will never belong to you or the Empire. It's Kaminoan. And Rampart's like, not so much. And he just fucking shoots her. But
she had turned on the thermal detonator.
And was just ready to press the button.
And it just falls out of her hand and just kind of rolls up to Rampart's boot. He looks down. He's like...
He's like, yep, that about tracks.
And it explodes.
Yep. And Nala Se, they both die, and the entire lab is blown up, along with the data, right? So the clones are gassed out one by one. Echo is like the only one left.
Because he has the helmet that apparently protects from gas.
So it's him versus several assassins. He gets like stabbed a couple of times.
Yeah.
And so
he's not doing too great.
Yeah. So they beat him and they capture him. And the one guy that his job is to deliver bad news runs up and he's like, the lab has been destroyed. And Hemlock's like, okay.
All right.
Okay.
We can work with this. I still have Omega.
Yeah.
She's the key puzzle piece here.
And that's where Omega is like, well, and we have a Hulk. And Wrecker breaks free from his restraints and just like starts going.
Just starts punching
berserk.
everyone.
And he causes enough damage that the gas stops and the restraints on Hunter and Crosshair also break off, right? Hemlock is like, you know what? This would be a great time for me to handcuff myself to Omega.
Yes.
So I imagine it's one of those handcuffs. It's like one side is human sized and the other side is kid sized because they probably do this a lot too.
Yeah.
So, and he runs off with her.
Yeah.
And Wrecker tells Hunter and Crosshair, he's like, go get the kid. And he fucking tackles the guy through the window and they fall down to the training thing. There for a second, I really, really thought they were going to kill Wrecker.
I had an inkling.
Yeah. So Crosshair and Hunter go after Omega. And they're both barely conscious, by the way. Like they're,
but you know they've got guns.
Yeah,
they're making it work.
Yeah. So Hemlock takes Omega to like this special outdoor landing pad.
It has a dramatic thunderstorm has begun.
Oh yeah, it's like the mood is there.
Like driving rain.
Yeah. So, Echo and Wrecker and the remaining clones defeat the remaining assassins, and Wrecker is
some brutal combat.
Yeah, like Wrecker is in really, really bad shape. Hemlock calls in one of those stealth fighters to pick him up, but Crosshair is like, I have a sticky bomb gun, and he blows it up, right? So, and Scorch, the guy whose only job is to deliver the bad news, just gets iced and falls off the fucking platform. Yeah, so that guy's fucking dead. So Hemlock holds Omega at gunpoint, and he's like, "Hey,
fucking back off, or I'll shoot her."
He's like, "They won't risk hurting you." And
Omega's like, "You fucking idiot!
Yeah, he's like,
you won't risk shooting me either.
Neither will you, motherfucker. Like, you need me alive." And Hemlock's like, "That's a fair point." And so Hemlock's got Omega close to the edge of the walkway. That way, if they shoot him, he takes her, and they both fall off or whatever. So he orders Hunter and Crosshair to drop their guns, and Omega, like from her sleeve, like produces that low prying tool that she was using,
a little screwdriver or whatever.
And Hunter tells Crosshair to shoot the handcuffs, and Crosshair's like, I can't hit anything. Like I'm
shooting left-handed here. Number one,
and I'm using your weak ass to prop myself up. Like we're both fucked here.
That's number two. Number three, the handcuffs are like in front of Omega. Right now.
And I might hit Omega. And Hunter's like, Omega knows what to do. Wait for her to make the decision and take the shot. So Omega stabs Hemlock in the thigh. Yep. And Crosshair hits the handcuffs. And Hunter and Crosshair shoot the shit out of him, just like fucking
like 80 times.
All the bullets.
It's very brutal.
And it's very satisfying. And he falls off the walkway, and that's the end of fucking Hemlock.
Yep.
And he'll probably get eaten by one of those like
he'll get eaten by the Zilla Beast.
They have a really touching reunion.
Yeah, Omega runs over and hugs Crosshair, and then hugs both of them, and it moistens the eyes a little.
Everyone rendezvous. Wrecker's still alive, and they get on like the one remaining shuttle, and then they fly away. So, they escape. Like they jump to hyperspeed.
They fly out. They jump to hyperspace
right as Tarkin's Star Destroyers are coming.
I don't know if it's meant to be that like contemporaneous, because like by the time like the next scene happens, it looks like some time has passed at the base, but I don't know.
Well, I think that's after their search.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could be.
So
neat detail, when Tarkin's ships come in, there's 2 Venators and 1 Imperial class Star Destroyer.
I love this fucking the Imperial class Star Destroyers are just sexy. So they take position over Tantus Space, which is starting to look real rough now, by the way.
It's had its Zilla Beast attack it. It has not had a good day.
Yeah. So Tarkin takes control and learns that none of the research was salvageable. He orders that the base be closed and all the money diverted to Project Stardust, which anyone who has seen Rogue One knows that that's the Death Star. Yeah. So all the heroes are back on Wanda Sykes Island. Echo wants to take Dr. Carr to Senator Tucci so she can tell them what's going on. And she's like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Wanda Sykes Island apparently is now like a refugee camp for the time being, right? And it turns out like the clones, Hunter says the clones will be allowed to follow their own path. And the episode ends because I consider the next part as kind of like a prologue, like an epilogue. They end with Wrecker, Crosshair, Hunter, and Omega under that tree,
and Batcher,
right? And the camera pulls away, and they're like, "Fucking yeah." So,
epilogue.
A considerable time later, years later, a much older Omega makes her way through a cave to a shuttle. She's trying to
the cave under Wanda Sykes Island where fucking Asajj Ventress hit her ship.
She's trying to sneak to the shuttle without anyone knowing. And it turns out that Hunter's
like, you fucking idiot. I'm old, not blind.
Yeah, Hunter's there like waiting for her. And he is looking real grisly.
Yeah.
He looks like my uncle, who is a Vietnam vet with a fucking headband and the long graying hair.
That all tracks.
Yeah, right. So he's like, did you really think you could? I'm a fucking tracker, for fuck's sake.
This is what I do.
Yeah. Also, I'm like 60 years old, so I get up to pee every 3 minutes. Like, Omega tells him that she's like, the rebellion needs pilots, like now more than ever, and I'm gonna go join the rebellion. And Hunter realizes he's got to let her go, and so he's like, fucking
go get him, kid.
Go kill as many of those motherfuckers as you can. Go for it. And she gets into the shuttle, and he says, if you ever need us, we'll be there. And with Tech's glasses on the dash.
As she's getting ready to go, she makes sure Tech's goggles are straight, which also moistened the eyes.
Yeah. Fires up the shuttle, flies off, leaves. End of the episode.
And that's it.
Fucking what a picture perfect ending.
Yes.
That I fucking loved.
The theme at the end of now us and all the rest of the clones get to decide what we want to do after having been created for a lifetime of war is just like the perfect way to wrap up the Clone Wars saga, I feel like.
And because you can't, like, you have to imagine that there aren't a ton of those guys left anyway.
Yeah.
Like the ones that survived and like.
But the thing is that like wars end.
Yeah.
That they end and then the soldiers have to find something else to do with their lives.
And it's just like here in real life where we don't take care of soldiers when they come home. It's like we use their services when we're at wartime, but when they come home, we're just like, like, sorry, sucker, shouldn't have joined the army. That's more or less what it's like. So yeah, the whole thing was great. I'm going to read some comments before we're done for tonight. James says, I'm still heartbroken. Tech is truly dead. I really hope he would have been the assassin and got saved. I did not hope this. In fact, one of the things I really liked was the fact that Tech's death was permanent.
Yes.
And the reason it's significant is because that impacts the Bad Batch so profoundly and so deeply that it affects how they make decisions from then on out. If it had turned out that he was secretly alive, what did they actually lose? You know, it's just like everything was fine in the end, which ends up happening anyway. But there were sacrifices to get there. It was not free. Like they paid for that shit, you know. And I think that's a lot more satisfying as a story.
They had to earn their happy ending.
Yeah. The Zola Beast from the Clone Wars was killed by toxic gas. The one we see in the Bad Batch is a clone of that one. Oh. Huh. Are you sure? I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up on Wikipedia.
Yeah. I totally thought Echo was going to stun Omega and make Dr. Carr take her. Oh, when they... Yeah. Yeah, I
wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah, well, also, yeah. Christopher says, "May the force be with you, Daniel and Chris. Hope you're having a good night." Yeah, it's a pretty good night.
That's pretty good.
Real quick, I asked for your opinions on Facebook on our spoiler thread for the Bad Batch. I want to read a couple of those because some people had some opinions. So. This is a Facebook account that I also follow that I find really amusing. It's called Batarang to the Butt. He's a big Batman fan.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I thought it was a beautiful ending for the Batch. The epilogue was the cherry on top. Absolutely inspired. Couldn't agree more. Casey says tense, serious, and atmospheric. That's a really great word to use for all of the Mount Tantus scenes. It's just atmospheric. You know, adored the bare knuckles approach. I couldn't be happier. So glad it wasn't just Rex and his boys swooping in to save the day. Which was another thing I was really like, that they didn't have like one of those on your left moments, you know, that like the Bad Batch had to fight their way out of it. You know, they were on their own. Joshua says, I very much enjoyed it, but to be completely honest, it was a bit of a disappointment for a series finale. I kept expecting the titular cavalry to arrive in the form of Rex and his, this is like the opposite opinion from the last one. But it didn't happen. I get that they wanted to focus things on the Batch themselves, which is true. But it was a bit of a letdown that the cavalry was just the same guys it always is. Not exactly a cavalry, just a squad, which was enough, of course. And having Godzilla, I mean, the Zillo save the day was cool, but I can't help feeling a bit disappointed with it as a grand finale.
I feel like the Bad Batch as a show has done a really good job of keeping the stakes correct so that their characters can be the heroes.
Yeah.
Like they never had Vader show up.
Yeah, that's another thing like, I was going to say.
If Vader had ever shown up, the Bad Batch is immediately invalidated.
Yeah.
They never had Palpatine actually do much. Like he had some cameos here and there, but he was never like actively involved.
He was there doing his day job.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't his night job. He was there doing his day job.
Like outside of a few very select instances, mostly at the very beginning of the show, there were no Jedi anywhere.
Yeah.
There was Asajj Ventress who showed up, put Omega through some bullshit and then left. Like they kept the show very grounded and they kept the stakes in line with what the characters should realistically be capable of dealing with.
I'm also kind of glad they didn't pursue the Omega, maybe a Jedi thing further. Because maybe she just doesn't care about it. Maybe she is force sensitive, but she's like, like that shit doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Casey says, who else saw the Knights of the Eternal Throne intertextual connection with the bridge in the rain? And then Bradley says, beautiful ending and brilliant series. Was sad to watch, but so happy with how they ended it. And the time jump, really cool. And then Kevin says, they showed one helmet with big eyeglasses things for just a second too long, which tells me Tech was one of the recon troopers and Wrecker killed him by throwing him through the wall.
Maybe. I doubt it. But
that's not how they would truly have killed Tech.
Yeah. That's not
anonymously and unceremoniously. That would not have happened. All right. I think that we are right at the end of our live show. Right after this, on for the time being, on Twitch and YouTube, not on Facebook Live, we are doing the next installment of our Buzzed recap series, and we are going to talk about Game of Thrones season 2 and 3. I hope,
in parentheses,
yeah. And we've got some good rum. Some good Kool-Aid, and a good mixer. Not that you need a mixer with Kool-Aid. And we're gonna get a little happy. And we're going to talk about Game of Thrones, and it's going to be a blast. So we hope that you, even if you're not necessarily a Game of Thrones fan and you haven't seen it, maybe this is how you consume the story.
Maybe
like you don't have the patience to watch the whole thing, so you just listen to me freak out about it for 2 hours. It'll be a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate the comments and the support. We love you guys, and we'll see you here in a few minutes.
Bye-bye.